This episode of Spectre Sound Studios is brought to you by DistroKid.
Life is hard. It's even harder if you're stupid.
Oh, I don't know how true that is. I mean, if you're stupid, you could just run for public office. All right, everybody! How the hell's it going? It is a Friday. It is time for SMG Viewers Comments. This is my weekly show where I answer your comments and questions to the best of my ability. If you got something cool you want to say, or you've got a question, if I think it'll help the community at large, I'd be more than happy to put it on the show. So, hey, leave a comment below. Now, our sponsor this week is DistroKid. Been working with these guys for a long time. I think they've got a very valuable service. We're going to have a few more words on them in a few minutes. Anyway, let's get right to it.
If fluid is so great, why doesn't Sweetwater carry them?
Oh, gee, I don't know, John. It's a mystery. I can't understand why Sweetwater doesn't carry lit. Let's go over to the Sweetwater website. Oh, look at that. They do!
Would you recommend a Valvestate head and cab for recording?
The Valvestate head is really cool. I don't know if I'd recommend the cabinet or not because 90% of your guitar tone's going to be in the speakers, so I'd probably get the best speakers I could possibly afford for that particular application. Cool thing about the Valvestate, it doesn't sound like a typical tube amp. It's got a bit more of a grindy kind of thing. And, it was used famously on prong cleansing, that snap your fingers, snap your neck guitar tone. That was a Valvestate. It was also used as a blender amp on Inflame's Clayman. I think they used it with a Laney AOR or 5150 depending on what track, but yeah, that's where that grind sound is coming from. So yeah, they've got a very different attack. A lot of tube amps are kind of variations on a theme, but if you want to get into more unique sounding amps, you have to get into the solid state realm. That's why the Joyo Zombie is so cool. That's why the Sunbait Elite is so cool. And yes, I've got a Valvestate, and I've even got this little guy. This is my Galleon Kruger MLE. This is like a 120 watt solid state amp. I bought this back in like 1993, 94, something like that. This is just a monstrous sounding amp that I really do need to do a video on at some point. But yes, Valvestate head, yes, absolutely. Cabinet, I don't know. Get the best cabinet you can, or better yet, get the best speakers you can. Whether it be WGS Reapers or, the Hesu Demon, something like that. That is really what's going to shape your overall tone.
I go one step further and insist on public meetups at local police stations. Most have dedicated Craigslist, marketplace exchange sites. Legitimate sellers and buyers are always happy to meet there.
Yeah, that's a great point. We were talking about scams a little while back, and the whole Craigslist / Kijiji type local classified online sales and whatnot. And yes, a lot of police stations will have meetups sites for that. I was just in Kingsville, Ontario not too long ago for dinner, and we did a little turnaround in the police station parking lot, and I noticed, a couple parking spots were dedicated for exactly that. Cameras there, nobody's going to try and fuck you there, so that makes a great idea for a place to do public handoffs and exchanges, that kind of thing. Just make sure witnesses are around, or cameras, that kind of thing. Another great place, especially if you're Canadian, is your local Tim Hortons. I've done, I don't know how many classified sales out of Tim Hortons. Great thing is you can grab a cup of coffee along the way too, and that works out wonderfully. So keep that in mind if you're doing online sales to avoid getting robbed or fucked over or anything like that. Always do the exchange in a public place.
You seem to know your stuff with computers, so I don't know why you keep on stating issues with Windows that are 100% within the realm of the user control, and keep pushing Apple and all the benefits of their system can be achieved in Windows. Plus, the Windows system has added benefits being cheaper to buy with far greater end-user control in terms of both software and hardware. You're not supporting Apple's anti-consumer approach to protect their major human rights slave usage.
Okay there, Beowulf, just calm down a little bit. Now, here's the thing. I've been a Windows guy. Actually, I was a DOS guy originally. I've been a PC user since 1992. I got my first 386 DX40. And I was a diehard for the longest time. And what you said there is absolutely true, especially about the functionality and a lot more user control. You are absolutely fucking right. I'm not going to debate that at all. The only thing that Mac is superior for is stability and ease of use. Yes, in Windows you can do everything a Mac can, no question about that, but a Mac will get you there faster. And with what I do, with the amount of content I have to crank out day after day after day after day after day, I simply cannot afford downtime at all. It has to work every single day. So for that reliability, I'm going with the Mac system because the Apple Care is amazing. If my computer goes down, they're going to fucking fix it. And that's why you're paying the extra money. Yes, you can build your own machine for far cheaper, but when something goes wrong, you are your own tech support. And that is the key for me right now, because for years I would do that, and then somebody would break on the computer, something would go wrong, I'd have to sit there and diagnose and fix it. And that's not always a lot of fun when you've got a room full of clients watching you. And especially now that I'm working full-time on YouTube, I have to have my content out for you guys, or, you know, I get the emails, hey, where's the video today? What the hell's going on? Where's our video? That has to happen every single day. I have to have a reliable system. So that's why I went with macOS. That, and this is super fucking light, and the battery lasts like 16 hours. I just got a message from a guy on my SMG Discord. He actually brought his MacBook Air to a gig and ran amp sims off it, and he didn't have any fucking problems at all. So, you know, yes, you can scream outrage and all that, and yes, you can absolutely do everything you can with Windows, but this just works. For the record though, if I have a spare 10 minutes to play video games, this is a dual boot system back here. So I'm playing, you know, the new Battlefield, 2042? Yeah, I'm playing that. Not too impressed with it, to be honest with you. It's definitely got some fucking issues. Or a Microsoft Flight Sim, and I want to do some VR gaming, something like that. Or, you know, X-Wing Squadrons, all that stuff. Yes, that's on a PC. For gaming, PC definitely has Mac beat. Hands down, no question about it. But if you work with your computer, you actually absolutely have to get shit done and out the door. Get a Mac.
Just how is your shilling for crap Apple products different than the Gibson fanboys?
Shilling implies that I'm getting paid. Nobody's paying me to say anything about this. I bought this with my own money, and I work with this on the road, and this thing winds up getting a lot of use just because it's so light and so portable. No, it's definitely not the most fucking robust system out there, but it does edit 4K video in DaVinci Resolve very, very nicely, and that's it. That's all it is. I'm just talking about my own personal workflow. I haven't had any issues with that. I've definitely had some issues with some PC laptops. Not the Slick laptop, that one's been great. But if you go back, I had an Acer laptop that was just an absolute trash piece of garbage. And I kept getting the blue screen of death over and over and over again. So your mileage may vary, you know, and if it works for you, that's absolutely fine. Just remember, Mac versus PC, it's not a fucking religion. Chill the fuck out. Alrighty, real quick, this episode of Spectre Sound Studios has once again been sponsored by DistroKid, my favorite online music distribution service, and I've been using it without any issues since 2015. It is the place to get your music online to all the major streaming sites like Apple Music, Amazon, Google Play, and Spotify, plus over 150 smaller online music retailers as well. It costs a whopping $20 a year, and you keep 100% of your earnings. DistroKid also has a ton of cool features, like getting your project more followers on Spotify with Hyperfollow, or change your image on Apple Music and iTunes, plus adding credits and liner notes to stores and streaming services. You can list musicians, contact info, social media profiles, and hundreds of other roles. There's also the synced lyrics feature, so you can have the lyrics play along to your Instagram and Apple Music posts. Seriously, how many times have you listened to a song and wondered, what the hell are they singing? I can't understand anything. Now, what's more, the new splits function works great for those long distance collaborations that everybody's doing these days. Splits allows you to pay your collaborators automatically by percentage, so you can concentrate on making music instead of learning how to be an accountant. You can change up the splits, add or remove collaborators at any time, and your collaborators also get a 50% discount on their own DistroKid account. Now, for all you drummers out there, that's $10. There's 3 levels of plans available: Musician, Musician Plus, and even one for labels. I use DistroKid to put my music online, including this channel's theme song, The Eagle Has Landed, and even got a license through DistroKid for the cover of Moon on the Water that we did several years ago. You can go to distrokid.com/VIP/Spectre today and grab yourself 7% off your first year. Links in the description below. Now back to the show.
I listened to be your last rant on Gibson. I just want to make a couple points. One, for some reason, your hate for Gibson, but the guitars you like are made by people who pay their workers 25 cents an hour. As bad as Gibson might be, I think their workers make more than that. So if a guitar Gibson makes costs $2,000, the cost of their guitar costs $100. I have to play all kinds of guitars. If I buy Gibson, at least if I sell it, I can get my money back even at a pawn shop. I will keep buying American and support American products. Use charade and play nice, but it all sounds the same. If I did a one-man job and played those licks, everyone would leave because it all sounds the same, like a chin saw. Who knows what you do with these guitars before you present them? You seem to be filled with hate. You cannot still like Gibson and yell. What you do is all an act.
Okay, Joe, first thing I'm going to suggest is instead of, spending your money on a Gibson, maybe spend your money on a basic English language course so we can understand what the fuck you're trying to say. Damn, dude, you know how hard it is to read that shit out loud? Illiteracy, people, it's everyone's problem. And please, don't give me that, oh, well, maybe he's from a different country. He just went America, America, America. So don't give me that shit. This is what's wrong with America's school systems because they're not teaching people how to communicate effectively. All right, Joe, you make a lot of assumptions there. I'm not sure what the average Chinese wage is. I don't know if it's 25 cents an hour. But if you did basic math, you would understand that the cost of living in China is far lower than what the cost of living in the United States is. And if you do some basic inflation calculation, you realize that the wages being paid right now aren't making the American dream achievable for young people because the average cost of a house in the United States right now is $300,000. If you're working 40 hours a week, you should be able to afford a fucking house, especially if you're working for a major manufacturer. But that's not happening because the wages are absolute shit. People are working harder but making less because of inflation, because the housing market has gone to absolute lengths of insanity. Most kids coming out of colleges and university these days will not be able to afford their own homes. And that's because the greedy fucks who are running the economy have figured out a way how to fuck everyone over. That is fucking undeniable. Now, I don't hate Made in America guitars, far from it. I had a Fender American Ultra on the show that was absolutely fucking brilliant. And I absolutely support small luthiers, small shops, guys who are building guitars as a passion and as their source of income. I have no issue with those guys at all. And believe me, I'd love to have some on the show.
I don't understand why brands are so important to people. I understand liking a brand because of how they play or having good prices, sounding good, etc. But prices and brands really do not matter, at least to me. I'm a bit biased because I try to have a good budget when buying new guitars, so I do have a few off-brand guitars, but all that really matters to me is how it plays and it sounds. For example, the 7th string I just got literally has no branding whatsoever. No icons, text, logos, or anything. But it plays and sounds great to me, but to some people it's just a piece of trash because it's not Gibson.
I would agree with that. I've never, ever been into the whole, wow, it's got this nameplate on it, it's automatically awesome. Pick up the guitar. Does it play well? Does it feel well? Then it's probably the right guitar for you. The country of origin is irrelevant. Period.
Imagine a world where a Gibson stays in tune for as long as Gibson users complain.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
Great show as always, but why the weeb t-shirts, LOL?
Because I fucking love anime. I've been into it ever since I was a little kid. I remember the first anime I ever saw, I think, was called Prince Planet, and that would have been like 1974, 75, somewhere around there. And then, there was Battle of the Planets and Star Blazers, and then, when I was 15 years old, Robotech was unleashed, and holy fuck was that ever amazing. I was just completely addicted to that. So yeah, it's been a lifelong love affair with Japanese animation because I think it's absolutely brilliant. For what it's worth, I just finished watching Vinland Saga on Netflix and that was absolutely brilliant. I was so impressed with that. I started reading the manga and I'm like, oh wow, this is really going somewhere, and it is absolutely awesome. Just great storytelling. That's really what it comes down to. It's very compelling stuff. I understand, there's this stigma about animation in North American culture that it's automatically for kids. And well, when it comes to anime, nothing could be further from the truth. And you find a lot of concepts in anime that you just would not get in Western media. And they really push the envelope in a lot of ways. If you're interested in anime as a genre or you're curious, hey, what the big deal is, I'd say start with the one called Death Note. It's absolutely mind-blowing and it's just incredible storytelling.
Maybe you did this video already, maybe I couldn't find the video. Would you be so kind as to show us mere mortals the difference between expensive instruments mixed badly in a recording versus cheap instruments in a studio who knows what they're doing? I'd be very interested to hear the results. Thanks a fucking million.
Well, In my opinion, you know, cheap versus expensive instruments. I mean, like, I've done a lot of those, especially cheap versus expensive drums. Turns out when you mic them up the same way, the differences are fairly minimal. I did that a few years ago with some DWs versus a Chinese set, and that was pretty cool. And then I followed it up with my DWs versus a set of Tama Rockstars. It really comes down to, you know, the durability of the hardware and that kind of stuff more than the actual sound. You know, as long as you've got a great snare drum, and as far as drums concerned, you know, it really doesn't matter. Cheap versus expensive guitars. I've got cheap guitars in here. I've got expensive guitars. Sometimes the expensive guitars don't stay in tune and the cheap ones do. Usually I find middle of the road budget instruments are absolutely fucking incredible. This is my LTD Arrow. This is about $1,200. Not mega expensive, but not super cheap either. Stays in tune brilliantly. Looks fucking cool. Changes color when you turn it. And it's just a joy to play. And it sits really great on your leg as well. And yeah, absolutely fucking incredible. Made in Korea by World Music, set up in LA by the guys at the ESP place there in the Valley. I visited there a couple of times. Bunch of great dudes working in there, that's for sure. And yeah, absolutely fucking stellar instrument. Highly recommend the entire LTD line. But as per your original question, dude, I think it's kind of been done. There's a lot of cheap versus expensive stuff out there. More importantly, when an instrument comes in the studio, is it set up correctly and will it stay in tune? That's the most important thing to me.
Critical thinking needs to be taught in more schools, apparently.
Yes, this is referencing the ongoing scam. Hey, you won something on this show. Text me on Telegram. That's the big scam right now, and a bunch of you guys have fallen for it. Yeah, critical thinking tells you how to see through bullshit. Maybe that's a video I need to make because there's just so much misinformation online right now, and people are so fucking easily manipulated by it. You know, maybe this is a public service video I need to do. If this is something you guys would like to see, maybe I could do that. I'm going to have some time on some trains coming up soon as I'm traveling through Europe for about a month. Maybe I can write something on the train with my very light and not nearly as cool as your home setup PC, but at least I can work on this on the train, and the battery's going to last. So yeah, maybe if that's a video you guys would like to see, you know, maybe I'll make that, and then, you know, maybe I can do a lesson in critical thinking too as well, because just because it says you won something doesn't mean you did, because unfortunately not all people out there are nice.
How dare you insult Ted Nugent and the conservative American Christian patriarchy in one video? It's incredibly insensitive of you to assume that women should be allowed to have total body autonomy, let alone assume that they can play guitar. On the day after Independence Day, no less. I wouldn't be surprised if fundamental Christian groups start protesting in the street to boycott your channel. Actually, I might just send Striper over to perform the entirety of Soldiers on Command outside your house, nonstop for 3 weeks.
America's modern right-wing Christian movement. Yeah, that's going to end badly, isn't it?
George Lynch once said, in reference to 8-string guitars and detuning, and I'm paraphrasing here, we had these things back in the day to cover the low and the frequencies. They were called bass players, and they were great because they only played one string, and you didn't have to pay them a whole lot. The downside was, every once in a while, you had to remind them that they weren't entitled to an opinion.
Wow, that's fucking brutal. As I recall, you know, George Lynch played with Jeff Pilson and Dawkins, and as I recall, Jeff Pilson wasn't exactly a talentless hack. So, wow, that's kind of amazing. Hopefully he wasn't referencing Pilson, because as far as I know, Pilson was a pretty fucking decent bass player. Probably deserved a little bit more respect than that. However, 9 times out of 10 in the recording studio, yeah, bass players are less than useless, that's for sure. Kind of like Texas police officers when children's lives are on the line.
Just a reminder, folks, there is no such thing as sarcasm, and everything Glenn says here should be taken extremely seriously.
Well, duh!
I wish you were a professor at my college. You would have made any subject you thought 1,000% fun to learn and actually fill the whole amphitheater to the limit.
Actually, I've done a couple of lectures like that up at OEART, the Ontario Institute of Recording Arts or something like that, whatever the fuck it's called. Great school in London, Ontario. I've done a couple of lectures there on recording drums and shit like that. And yeah, the place was packed to the gills and we had an awful lot of fun. The big question, I guess, after I left, they were asking, why does he swear so much? Because it's fun, that's why! Seriously. Here is one thing, though, about my European travels. I am going to be at the Studio Scene Conference in Mannheim, Germany on August 30th and 31st, and I'm going to be doing a drums recording masterclass with SELLOUT mics and some brand new Neve gear. Just checking my calendar there. I'm shooting all this stuff before I travel, but that's going to be Tuesday and Wednesday after this video premieres. So if you're planning on going to Studio Scene, I hope to see you there. If you see me there, stop and say hi. That's what I'm going to be there for. It's going to be an awful lot of fun. Make sure you come by my masterclass, and hopefully we can teach you guys something. And then again, maybe you guys can teach me something too. Yeah, this is one of the pieces of gear I'm going to be using. This is the Neve 88M. It is their 2-channel recording interface. It's probably one of the most expensive 2-channel interfaces ever made. And it sounds pretty fucking amazing when especially when you start loading up the transformer preamps. That's another thing that's unique about this thing. It's got transformers in it. It's got channel inserts. If you haven't seen my review on this, please watch. Hopefully it's premiered by now, and if not, it'll be coming up real soon. It's a very cool piece of gear. And this is going to kind of be the brain of my whole operation there in Mannheim. It's what I'm going to be running my masterclass off of. That, and of course, this, because I can do live drum sessions off this with no latency.
The world is not full of winners. The world is full of triers, hopefully. And I try, and sometimes I win with some other people together. I am happy with that. I am not always positive. Give me a second and I'll find a reason for optimism. That's probably true, but that's it. Liverpool FC team manager.
Yeah, you know, that's kind of been my philosophy too. Yeah, it's like we're not all winners, and that's absolutely fine. You know, the chase is better than the catch, so to speak. Yeah, I always get that quite a bit. Well, who the hell is this guy? Who's he ever recorded? Absolutely no one. Just like most of you guys out there. And you know what? I'm absolutely fine with that, because there's more of us guys like this who are sitting at home trying to make the best recordings we possibly can out of our garages and bedrooms and all that than there are ever platinum selling record producers in the world. Those guys are basically a handful. As long as you accept that, that's absolutely fine. Have fun with what you're doing. Hopefully I can save you some money along the way. That's the whole point of this show. All right, everybody, that's it for this episode. As always, keep those comments and questions coming, because I do try to read every single one of them. And if it's a cool question, I'll be more than happy to put it on the show. Once again, thanks to the episode sponsor, DistroKid. Always a blast having them on. They're a fantastic service. I highly, highly, highly recommend them. Now, usually I'll have a sign-off line here, but I thought this one was great, so I'm going to end the episode a little bit differently and sign off with this.
Remember, play Gibson, then play something better.